Good evening, Facebook family. I pray and hope that everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. We sure have. Nothing but rest and rest and more rest. So we're coming at you tonight, Brian and I, trying to just start back up where we left off in the middle of the pandemic. We've taken a year sabbatical, I guess you would call that. At least he has, not me, so much as. We want to just talk to you, you all, about some things that are going on in society, especially amongst Black Americans right now. And one of the things during the process of going through COVID and just about coming out of it, Brian wrote a great book about our people, and it's titled, Where Do Black People Go From Here? And you can just, by the topic of this book, you can only imagine the information that is in this book concerning our African American culture and our people. But he talks about it's a very practical guide to our 21st century. Just very practical, easy read, and I love it. I've read it twice now, and it has really shed a lot of light on me in reference to where we were, where we are now, and where we're possibly headed in this next coming year and years to come. One thing I do want to add is that all of us, it's not about hate, it's not about being less or more than someone else. It is about being equal. And at this point, as long as we've been in this fight, we're still fighting to yet be equal. We're not asking for handouts. We're not asking for anybody to give us anything. All we want is our fair share. And that is what we've not been given. We're seeing so much crime, Black on Black crime, especially among our younger generation, and especially among our Black males. And you want to know where all this is coming from. I asked Brian over and over and over again, what's going on? We've never seen this level and this magnitude of crime being committed by our Black young males, especially against one another. They're angry. I know that anybody can see that you've got to be angry to commit such crimes that they're committing now, especially when you're talking about killing one of your own. So we need to get to the bottom of this and talk about it. And let's just sit back, relax, get your coffee, your tea, whatever. Just kick back a minute. We won't be at you long, but we do want you to be informed and acknowledge about what is going on in our society today, and who's better to give it to you than someone that has completely done the research, dug in deep, not just listening to YouTube or Google. He really digs down deep and research back from generation to generation. So we just need to sit back and listen to this information, and I will come at him with questions, and we will invite you all to ask questions. Okay? Well, thank you, guys.
Well, hello again, Facebook family. This is an impromptu show, so it was kind of just a last minute thing where Janice wanted to come on and talk about some issues that's facing the Black community. And again, introduce to you all the book, Where Do Black People Go From Here? A Practical Guide to Survival in the 21st Century. And just want to say welcome back, YouTube family as well. We'll be posting this to YouTube. So we are excited to kind of be back. Like I said, this is impromptu. Formally, we will start again in about a week or so with the real show. And hopefully we'll get everybody participating again. But anyway, we're glad to be back. Yes, we've had a lot going on since the pandemic. We've moved, new home, just a whole lot going on.
Yeah.
New book that I've written, new business venture that I've started to try to help our community and to invest back into the community. So got a lot going on, but it's exciting. Whenever you can give back, whenever you can invest in your community is always exciting. So glad to be back. Let me say that. Glad to kind of do this impromptu, and we won't be long tonight. We'll just do, something that's just real quick, and whatever questions you all have that you want to throw at me, as well, we could kind of make it a a questionnaire night before we get ready to go into the real show and introduce some new and exciting things that we want you all to be a part of as well. And join us in the struggle. Not just sitting on the sideline, not being a wallflower, as they would say, but we want you all in the fight with us. So, again, welcome back. Thank you all. So Janice, you got the show. It's on you, baby.
Yeah, as I was saying earlier, I have some questions for Brian. I sometimes I have to stay in my silent place while he's researching and studying and reading for hours and hours at a time. When I'm around the house just doing things and not wanting to interrupt him, but definitely needing someone to ask questions someone to ask questions. My biggest concern, and I know a lot of people out there are also concerned, what has caused our young Black people to create so much violence? What is going on? And there's no way you can sit around and tell me you're turning a blind eye to this, because a lot of us have children and we have grandchildren that are coming up in this age, and it's getting worse. It's not dying down at all. So my question is, what's going on? Why are we seeing our young Black people? These are kids 18, 19, 20, even 14-year-olds. Mm-hmm. We had a 14-year-old in Dothan that killed 2 young women, 20 and 21. How can we just sit back and act like this isn't existing? This is actually what's happening, and we're totally ignoring it. I'm not going to say we're ignoring it, but we don't have a clue as to why. Is anybody trying to find out why this is going on? And Brian, that's my question to you. What is going on with our young Black men and women today?
We actually deal with that question in the book, and I've turned the acronym HATE to mean having another traumatic experience. So the acronym HATE, having another traumatic experience, that's something that all Black people are experiencing right now. As far as our young people, one thing that I think that has added to the actual violence and the uptick in violence is a lack of understanding who they are. When young people don't understand who they are as it relates to their history, when they don't understand where they came from, when there's no culture for them to actually participate in, when there's nothing that they can actually call their own and be proud of, then I think you see alternative measures taken by them, and you see them act out in ways that can result in violence. And most of them are having another traumatic experience. They hate because of some of the things that they have lacked as it relates to their life in general. Whatever a young Black person is told that they have to be 10 times better than their counterpart for no reason at all, no reason other than the color of their skin, it makes them go through that traumatic, mindset of why me? It makes them question what is wrong with me in society that I have to be so much better than all other people that come to this place that are already here. What makes it, why do I have to be the one that's always performing at top levels or doing
going
things
above and beyond?
That's
yes.
right, that are morally always intact. Why am I looked at in a specific way? Why am I stereotyped as, the thug or
ghetto, less
that's
than.
right, the B.
Yeah.
Or, why is it always
the Black
me?
Yeah, definitely.
And why am I demoralized to the point to where it's stigmatizing?
Yes.
So, when you ask that question, there are a lot of factors, like I said, that play into that.
Yeah.
But the main factor is when there is no understanding of who you are, where you came from, and where you're going, you seek out alternatives in reference to finding that. And unfortunately, when you don't recognize those three dynamics of just self-empowerment, you also don't appreciate your brothers or sisters on the other end. So when young people don't realize that the person that they are killing is also their own blood,
Yeah.
regardless of whether or not they are related concerning
That's
kinship,
Right.
when they don't realize that the blood that they're spilling is their own blood because they cannot identify that person with themselves because they don't know their history, then we have a problem.
Exactly.
You're going to continue to see violence as a way of, or an alternative to express oneself based on what they are experiencing from the system saying that you gotta be better and you're not the same, you're less than.
Yes.
So you're stereotyped, you are still the so-called ape that's evolving into something that is civilized. You're still the barbarian. You're still, when that is still at play in society, you're going to see expressions that are violent. You're going to see expressions that don't care. You're going to see emotions that run awry, that really don't respect elders, eldership, don't respect parenting, don't respect those in authority. You're going to continue to see that.
Yeah. And what we don't see enough of, growing up,
Good to see Brother Gerard.
oh yes, good to see them.
Yeah.
What we don't have enough of, growing up, we used to have the Boys and Girls Club that was very active in society, in our neighborhoods. We had parents and other parents, different parents in different families that will come together and work. Huh? I don't know.
Tell him
Okay. Who wants to join? Okay.
Little bird.
Oh, that's Gwen. She's already she's watching. So hey Gwen, and hey Siraj. We just want to make sure that we're reaching out to our young black people. A lot of people, I'm gonna be honest, afraid to say anything to these young people nowadays. I hear people saying that all the time. Janice, it's dangerous to even say anything to them. When we were coming along, if you said something to me or said you were gonna talk to my mom or tell my mama I was doing something out of order, and I saw somebody in the neighborhood, an adult that caught me, man, I was gonna fix that real quick. So we don't have that fear in our young children anymore. And that's very scary. We can't just be concerned about our little 4 and no more. We got to look at this thing bigger, because as our children and grandchildren get older, guess what? We don't know what path they're going to go down. We can't say what mine will never do. We don't know. You really don't know. So we have turned just taking a little ride in our little SUVs and we ride around. But we can't go over there in that neighborhood. Don't you drive over there. Don't you go on the west side. Don't you go across those tracks. We're hearing all those things. We're saying all those things. Those people feel forgotten about. They're not able to have the privileges that some of us have or some others have. You got to think about all those things. These people feel that they're at such a disadvantage. They have no way out. They need a way up. They need a hand up. And are we giving that to them? When they go in places, they're automatically looked at as different because of the way they wear their hair. The braids, the locks. That's us. That is who we are. The color. We can't do anything to represent our culture without being stigmatized. But what we can do, we can act our culture, because we're not acting our culture. A lot of our young people may be dressing the culture, but are you really representing your culture? Are you still respecting elders? Hello? How are you? Let me get the door for you. We don't see that anymore. What has happened? It starts in the home. It starts in the home. And is that still taking place, Brian?
Well, I think, when there's a failure to teach young people then they're not going to do something that hasn't been learned. And what we're seeing is that the history is not being taught. Our history is not being taught in the homes anymore. Okay, there's a major difference from the actual era of the 60s, the 50s and the 60s. Okay, those children that
Even the 70s, Brian.
even the 70s and even the 80s.
Yes.
There's a difference when education was actually pushed in the home, history was taught in the home.
Yes.
Now what we're experiencing is a generation that's under attack as it relates to that history. So therefore you've got forces against them that are political forces.
Exactly.
That states that CRT, critical race theory, should not be taught, not be discussed. And
yes.
Literally all that is just an attack on teaching African history, again, reinforcing that Africans built this country and that without Africans, you would not have this country.
Exactly.
So there are a lot of things that are going on as it relates to, what our young people are experiencing. So when you have forces that are actually going against our young people,
yes,
when you have in the home parents not educated enough to teach history, and then when you couple that with elders that are actually dropping the ball concerning helping in reference to making sure that our kids understand who they are and are taught their history,
yes,
then this is what we get. So it should not be a surprise to us that African Americans make up 13% of the U.S. population, and out of that 13%, 46% of violent crimes are committed by African Americans each year. That's according to the U.S. DOJ, Department of Justice website. So think about that. We make up 13%
of the population,
but 46% of the violent crimes are committed by us. So that says a whole lot. That says that there is a gap as it relates to the elders and the young people being able to associate with one another, being able to actually understand one another, being able to communicate. Elders teach the young people. The young people receive the teaching.
Exactly.
So there's a lot going on.
Shiraj has a question. He said, what is that?
Restoring that organic family life would solve. Absolutely. So what does he mean when he says organic family life? When Shiraj says organic family life, we're talking about the traditional family. People are going to do what they do. We can't stop that. Society is changing at such a pace to where the traditional family, and Shiraj says organic, and I say traditional, pretty much it's synonymous with one another. The traditional family of having a strong father, strong mother, raising those children, having a spiritual foundation as well, and making sure that they understand, if nothing else, their history as it relates to their family.
Wow.
We first got to start with grandmother, great-grandmother, great-grandfather, great-great-grandmother. A lot of our children don't even know who their great-great-grandmothers are. And their great-great-grandfathers are.
Let's take it back. Just one generation.
That's right. A lot of them are even questioning great-grandmothers and great-grandfathers. They have no clue. So we have to start there. My whole thing is, the first way to start teaching history is to start teaching your family history. If you can start there and begin to instill in those children the struggle from an aspect of your own family, then you can appreciate overall what we had to go through in the struggle as a collective people. that we fought for those freedoms that they experience now, that the struggle encompasses all of us being in the fight. But you first got to start in the home. You first got to start with that immediate family, understanding who they are and that they came from a rich family history.
Heritage.
Okay?
Yes.
That they had ancestors that did not give up.
That's right.
That fought every day so that they can enjoy some of the freedoms that they enjoy.
Exactly.
Okay? We're not all the way free by no means.
No, we're not.
But we have come
a long
way. Okay? And we hear that used a lot. We hear that expression used a lot. And it is true. But until young people understand that, and until young people, and they can't appreciate what they don't know until we start to share those things again. You know, we can't fall prey to the school not teaching our children their history.
No, we cannot.
Listen, it's an excuse when we depend on a school to do what we should be doing in the home.
Exactly.
You know, if the school don't teach the history, that's fine.
You teach.
Let's start teaching it ourselves.
Yes.
Let's have study groups on the weekend where we invite our kids to come in, if it's just once a month.
That's right.
And have history class.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yes.
And let's go back and start before slavery.
Yes.
Let's teach indigenous history and those natives that were already here prior to 1492 and Columbus sailing the ocean blue. Okay, so we got to go back and start sharing those things.
Yes.
It's okay if critical, because in Alabama, they've already put a bill in place where they are not going to be teaching certain aspects
of Black history.
African history.
That's right.
They're not going to be teaching certain aspects of slavery. And now the whole terminology of master and slave is being changed in the history books.
Wow.
Okay, so that the word slave is taken out and the word servant is put there. Okay, as it, you know, to give the appearance that this was not such a bad, horrific thing.
Yeah.
Okay,
they're trying to smooth it over.
Chattel slavery is actually being deleted from the Alabama history books. So we've got to deal with that, but how do we combat that is the question. We combat that through developing our own study groups. Okay, let's get educators that are really concerned about what's going on with our children, and let's develop these study groups. If we can put together a party, and if we can plan a whole year to meet with families at a certain time of year, why can't we have the same vigor and the same zeal to meet once a month and have a history study group?
Or even once a quarter.
Yeah, once a quarter, whatever it takes. So what I'm saying is we got to stop complaining, and we got to stop being lazy, and we got to start saying, hey, we're not waiting on them to do anything for us anymore.
Yes.
That we can do for ourselves.
Exactly.
Okay. So we're not part of this, the whole entitlement mindset where I just sit and wait. No, those days are gone. Okay. And believe me, this government is going to slice everything they can slice away from Black people in the coming years, especially leading up to this next presidential election, which we'll talk about that in some upcoming shows.
But you know that people don't believe that?
It's going to happen.
They don't believe that's going to happen.
We could show them that it's going to happen. So my whole thing is now we have got to start, we got to get back to some basics. Like Sherrod said, we got to get back to, reinforcing the organic traditional family. Let's start talking about, again, where do children thrive the most? They thrive the most in an environment that has a traditional family where the mother and father is working together to instill in that child moral values where they instill in education in that child, they instill in their history in that child, and it's not all I'm going to just give you, and we fallen into the status quo
Yes.
of what society says.
Yes.
See, black people are the biggest consumers on the planet.
Say that again, Brian. Can we say that
Every
again?
society, every corner of the earth,
Can you
black
repeat
people are the biggest consumers. In our consumption, we do not give value to those things that we consume. We merely consume because society says we should do those things. We should buy. So we fall into the trick of purchasing items for our children
Yes.
that are of no value educationally. Okay? So we fall into the trap of buying our kids all of the things that everybody else that we see the stars with, and we're trying to keep up with the rap artists and all of
Yes.
Listen, that does our children
No
no
good.
at all.
Oh, none.
If they can play PlayStation but cannot figure out what 3 times 2 is, there's a problem.
That's right.
So instead of us going out and purchasing all of these things for our children that serve no value as it relates to their education, let's start investing in something that is going to cause them to be competitive concerning the way society is being shaped and going now. If we are going to be free as a people, then we have to prove to ourselves first as a people that not only can we compete as it relates to STEM, but not only can we produce engineers, doctors, whatever we need, the profession that we need.
In the black community, for black.
That's
for
right.
us.
Even from a standpoint of those jobs that are technical jobs that you do with your hands. Okay. Such as brick mason, carpentry, getting back to those things, we need to prove to ourselves that we can produce these type of professions within our children again and within our community again.
And let me share something with you, Brian.
So,
one thing I've seen, and I'm on my hat's off to the single mothers, because I was one at one time. To see the single mothers doing what they're doing, I don't want to call anybody out, but I'm going to secretly inbox them and let them know that you are seen. I see you, what you're doing with your children, because you need to be recognized. And I don't think one mind me saying that Drina Baldwin, I see what she does with her daughter. She educates that girl. She gets her exposed, not just sitting in front of a YouTube or a television or a video game. She's getting her out, getting her exposed. I see those single mothers out there, Demisha Calhoun. I see you getting your children out, learning about different things in the land. I saw them going to the sunflower patch, the strawberry patch, taking them on different trips to expose them. You got to do that with your children.
Now here's the, let me play
devil's advocate.
Not devil's advocate in so many words, but let me say this for the fathers that are absent.
Yes, Brian.
From their children's life. See, anybody can be a daddy. That's just my baby's daddy. Anybody can be just my baby's daddy.
You're correct.
It takes a man to be a father. So what does that mean? That means that not only financially should he provide, but he should be involved from a standpoint of instructions, discipline.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? Order, teaching his children how to be upstanding citizens.
Yes.
All these things, teaching their history.
Yes.
Those things should not be left solely to
the
mothers.
That's exactly right.
Now, when mothers have to do what fathers should be doing, guess what? They tap into a masculinity that causes them to now hate not only the children's father, but to develop a certain disdain for men, period. to the point to where that masculinity side of them says, I don't need a man.
I can do this myself.
All men are
the
dogs,
same. They're the
and
same.
they do the
Yes.
same thing, and it causes them to have a disdain and a mistrust. Why? Because they're having to step in and to do the role of the father,
As well as the mother.
because the
Yes.
father is missing from the child's life. I.e., what happens when that comes into play?
Wow.
It leads into other things. It leads into developing certain feelings and certain likes and dislikes for people, and now having to depend on my girlfriend's help rather than than the children's father help.
Yes.
They reach out to a girlfriend first
Yes.
and say, well, can you keep my children? I got to do such and
Yes.
such. So we have to understand that what happens to a lady that is charged with being mommy and daddy also in our culture translate to destruction in some form and in some fashion. Okay? It's though we have mothers that do it and do it successfully, what we do not hear is the pain that they go through
Exactly.
as it relates to trying to
That's
do it successfully.
Whew.
See, it's not, we can look at it from an exterior,
Yes.
but if we go to the interior, we don't know the tears that's being shed every night because
Exactly.
the father
Is not
is
there.
not there, and because that mother can't do what the father does. See, there is no substitute for male energy in a child's life, period. I don't care how we slice it. And there is no substitute for male energy in a mother's life.
That's exactly right.
And that's part of getting back to some of the basics.
And that's the
as it
male
relates.
fault. It's the man's
It's
fault.
not all the man's fault. So we can't point fingers at the man, because flip the shoe. You have men raising their children
Well-
the same way. So you can't just point the finger and say it's all the male's fault. It takes two to tango, and there's always two sides to every story. So when we look at that, we have some men in the same position.
Yes.
That's playing mommy and daddy.
Yes.
And they're taking on a feminine role to nurture that child because mother is absent. So see, you can't say, so now we can't say, well, that's the woman's fault. No, we don't know what dynamic played into the situation of them being a single parent. But what we could say is, whatever it was, that mother or that father has to be responsible enough. If the parents cannot co-parent, then we have to get alternatives in place to make sure they are accountable and responsible. And I hate to say this, but sometimes you have to take that father to court or that mother to court and make the court system hold them accountable. Whatever it takes, we want to start developing again co-parenting skills between mothers and fathers that will produce healthy children, because in the end, it's about that child being healthy.
That's it.
It's about the
Because
child
we're
having
repeating
an
that
opportunity.
cycle. We're
That's
going to
right.
repeat the cycle. We're repeating the cycle. And it's getting worse because there's more enticing things out here, such as all of this meta and whatever else, everything, that's keeping our people off focus.
We have too many distractions in the
It's
African
sad.
community.
Yes.
And many times those distractions are not healthy.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So we have to remove some of those distractions and create a healthy environment. It's up to us to create the environment that we choose to exist in. It's up to us to create the world that we want to live in.
I get it.
Okay.
You know,
So-
but Brian, any way you slice it, it's still a part of the community.
Absolutely.
Things have to take place. You got to have those entities and those
Once we develop
things
a community,
in the community. Well, well,
'Cause
we
we
have
don't have
communities
a-
that we reside in.
that's
yes,
not
we
a
do.
community, sweetie. That's a neighborhood.
Well,
No, we don't have communities. In the African African Americans don't have communities anymore, because in a community, what are some things that
you have to have your
exist?
own businesses. Some of your own businesses.
Some of the things that exist in a community is not only businesses, but some of the things that exist in a community is a healthy financial base.
Okay.
Okay, that's one. Another thing that exists in a community is a healthy, what you're in, healthcare system
Yes.
for all.
Yes.
See, a lot of our children suffer from bad health at early ages because they are eating unhealthy
Healthy. Right.
due to not having the same nutritional
Yes.
opportunities as others have in communities that are well off. That's another thing. So healthcare,
Yes.
foundational based healthcare, education,
Yes.
meaning that we have schools to deal with our children. Now, I don't believe that all of our children have ADHD or ADD. I believe that schools label our children because they do not want to teach our children anymore. So it goes back to the old concept of slavery, where African people were not allowed to read and write. They were coerced into being the under and uneducated class that would always be the labor force in this country. So when we look at not having an education system in place to deal with our children and to deal with some of the family issues, that is perpetuating the whole concept of being undereducated or uneducated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay? It's
Okay.
keeping you in a certain class.
Okay.
All right. So those are just three things when you talk about having a healthy community. So we have neighborhoods that we live in
Right. That
Okay.
is okay.
that we coexist with our counterparts in these neighborhoods, but we don't have functional communities to where our children, our parents can go and seek help based on someone understanding who they are that looks like them and that is trained to deal with that. Okay, so we have to realize that in the European educational system, we are trained to deal with issues based off of a European structure. We're not trained to deal with issues based off of our culture and our mindset.
Okay. I get it.
Now, and the reason that you see a mockery of the African culture, see, anything that African Americans create in this country is always going to be duplicated by white. If it's something of value, whites are always going to step up and say they were the inventor or creator.
Yes.
And they're going to take that first position and say that we assisted. But if it's something that they can mock us by, then they will do that. Give you an example of that. White people often mock black people's demeanor. So you will see in commercials, you'll see them trying to rap, and you'll see them, doing the
dance.
and trying to throw the hand signals in commercials and
Yes.
mocking us based on black people being now, and this is the thing, being creative, but yet being mocked and demeaned by white as to say, look at how silly you are. We can mock you openly on a commercial. We can mimic you. We can look silly like you, and you accept it. And you sign on to it as if this is something great. Well, see, we have forgotten our greatness and have forgotten how to do what we do to where it is beneficial and not hurt us. They mock those things whereby we choose to degrade each other by.
Right.
You understand
Yes,
that?
I get it.
So in our music, when we're doing the rapping, when we're doing
Yes.
the thug thing and all of this, we're literally demeaning each other. White people mock us demeaning each other. And says, okay, if you yourself tear down your community, I can come behind you and mock you and you think it's funny. And now we look at a commercial with a white person doing the same thing that our brothers are doing in the rap videos, and we somehow see that as hilarious, or white people don't have rhythm. And that's all of that may be true, but at the same time, they're mocking your silliness. They're mocking you being the person that is demeaning your own people, that have nothing good to say about your own people, that degrade your women, degrade and talk about your own men. You talk about killing each other. See, something has to be done to where we realize that some of the things we do that we call art and that we call culture is not culture or art at all.
No, it's not.
It's very demeaning, it's very degrading,
Yes.
and it does not lift the people up. You know, as a matter of fact, it sends a bad message. You know, it sends just consciously, it sends a message that says, it's okay to pull a 9mm and take my brother out if he gets out of order. It's okay to shoot and to rape and to pillage in our own community. This is who we are. I'll kill the N and all of this, you know, and F that N and MF this and MF that. See, we have got to get back to calling those things out.
Yes.
Calling those artists out.
Yes.
That's not art. That's filth.
Filth.
Yeah, we have to call it what it is.
And we don't
and
do
we
it.
We have got to stop supporting our people that destroy
us,
our own community.
That's right.
And for some reason, we buy into those that destroy our own community. We buy into our own people destroying themselves. And that's another thing I talk about in the book, guys. Okay, the self-destruction of black people after Emancipation Proclamation, after January the 1st, 1863, when Lincoln signs on the dotted line against his own better judgment. He did not want to do it. But anyway, to make a long story short, we then, at that moment, it's like something shifted and we started from a standpoint of education. Now, I will say this, from 1870 to 1920, we were the most educated people within that time frame.
Yes, we were.
Okay? Slaves, or those that were enslaved, when they were emancipated, at a rapid rate, the fastest rate in the world, in the history of the world, were educated more than any other group on the planet at that time. After the 1920s, after the Great Depression, going into the early 40s, World War I, World War II,
yes,
we began to stop supporting black movements. So prior to the civil rights movement, prior to integration, black people had already started falling off of being supportive of one another. Now, I'll give you an example of that. Marcus Garvey, the main person that went against him was a black man. Okay, so we have those examples. So when we look to destroy each other, whether it be by music, whether it be by, any type of art.
Somebody's saying something, Brian.
We can't celebrate our own demise. Rap music is not to be listened to by the children. Okay, that's Siraj with an undeveloped with undeveloped minds. Absolutely.
That's correct.
And I would say amen to that.
Yes, yes, you are. Amen.
I would say ashe to that, shalom to that, and whatever. But, you know, the sad thing is that most of our children now, as far as education, when they're coming out of high school, they're coming out of high school uneducated.
Yep.
They're coming out of high school with minds that are not fully developed. Scientifically, it's stated that the mind doesn't fully develop until the age of 25, meaning to rationally be able to discern and consciously to be able to discern between what's right, what's wrong. Now, I don't agree with that, but scientifically, that's the actual scientific state of us being conscious or fully developed. They state that is at the age of 25. But regardless of that, we have to again focus on our children becoming part of a healthy system that we develop.
Yes.
That will teach them who they are and teach them self-love. Self-love starts with knowing who you are, right?
Right. It does.
So if we don't know who we are, then there's no way that functionally we can operate in society in a fashion that will benefit the whole. Okay? So we have to discern that most black people that are middle class
and upper class,
upper middle class, because you have a few wealthy blacks.
yes,
Okay, like the black billionaire, what's his name, Richard Williams, or the philanthropist. Yes, they gave the millions of dollars in student loan forgiveness to Morehouse and some of the. But anyway, he doesn't even make up 0.25%. Okay, so you have middle class, you have upper middle class, and then you have poor. That's it in the black community. There's no quote unquote just wealthy people. Even the Beyoncés and Jay-Z's technically are owned by somebody else.
That's it. People don't get it. They don't see that.
So with all of that power, and I love B,
yeah.
and I've listened to Jay-Z. Jay-Z's kind of in my era. You understand? Yeah. I've listened to all his songs, but still, when you look at what have they done to uplift the community by way of their music? B has made some great music. Black is King was wonderful for those that understood the spiritual symbolism within that, in the context of the video and what she was actually trying to convey to a wide audience.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? That there's more to blackness than what is being portrayed in the created culture of rap and the music industry.
Brian, I hate to cut you off, but I still feel like there is more to be done. We can even people can start on where you are. Mm-hmm. Anybody can do it. Reach one, teach one. One child. Reach one, teach one. It is, to me, it doesn't, everybody know I'm a health professional. I'm a nurse. So I make it my mission every day to teach somebody something about being health conscious and about a treatment or some form of getting your bodies right to give you a better feeling, better longevity, whatever. I say every day you can teach somebody something. You can help somebody somewhere. But I think we're kind of selfish, Brian.
But would you agree that you can only teach what you know?
I agree.
So if that is the case, then there are not enough that know their history. So we have to start with re-educating ourselves concerning learning who we are.
So what do we do about those that when people reject knowledge, okay? There's some people that don't have the, I want to say the mindset, the ability, the capability,
The capacity to
to
learn.
sit down and listen to you with all of this. I didn't initially. I mean, I hear it, I understand it, but when you're quoting timelines and different centuries and different wars and how, how certain people came over, sometimes that can be boring to people that have not been taught like that. I get it. But you have to find a way to reach those and help those in another way that do understand. Teachers, educators. I know we need to have more teachers updated in history, in our Black history. It is so viable. It is the only way that I feel personally that we're going to get back. Because even with our grandkids, every chance I get to be around them, and Brian too, we try to give them something about our heritage. I don't want them to get caught up in a system that is not for them, that is not going to help them. We still don't get it.
We have to do, it's easy to give practical teaching.
Yes.
So you can, we could put history in everything that we do. Okay. So we can, when you deal with poverty is the result of slave labor and our people not receiving any wages for their labor. Now that's how practical that is.
Yeah.
That's very practical.
Very practical.
So I can tell a person that, okay, brother, if you're poor, hey, that's nothing new. It's just been passed down from one generation to the next. See, so what I understand is this. When you meet a person in the projects, most likely you could trace back almost 4 generations of that person's family, and you'll find that they were in the project and that they were slaves, and that when they came out of slavery, they were not able to get an education. And guess what happened? What's passed down to generation to generation to generation? Most Black people that attend college, there are few, and there are an exception to every rule.
Yeah.
But most Blacks that attend college, you can find, if you go back 1 or 2 generations, that their parents and their grandparents attended college. So what am I saying?
But then you have first generationals now, Brian.
I said you have exceptions to every rule.
Yeah.
Okay, but most Black people, the greater percentage is most Blacks that are that go to college. You can find, I'm an exception to the rule. So I know I have children that are exceptions to the rule, but not, they can't say they're an exception to the rule because of their father.
Right.
So they're a second generation.
Yeah.
But most Black people that attend school, attend higher education institutes, is because their parents and their grandparents.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that.
Okay. The same with poor Blacks that are in the projects. You could trace their parents being in the project. You could trace their grandparents being. You follow what I'm saying? So we can make it practical to where we can teach our history and we can show those things. Okay. We can easily show what Reconstruction did as it relates to those that had the opportunity to get an education, and those children of formerly enslaved Africans that came out of Reconstruction via the Emancipation Proclamation, going into Jim Crow. Their parents pushed them to be first generational college students. And no matter what they did, they made sure that those children understand the only way you're going to have an opportunity in this country is to get an education. That was back then. And then also you had those that were pushed into trade.
Yes.
Okay. The only way that you're going to have an opportunity If you don't go to college, you got to be able to take care of yourself. What does that mean? You need to learn how to farm. You need to learn how to build.
Work on cars.
That's right. You need to have a trade. What I'm saying is, we don't do that anymore. We've got to get back to doing that. Everybody is not college material, right?
That's right.
Okay. So if they're not, then we need to be pushing them toward another
avenue.
That's right. Avenue to take care of themselves.
Yes.
So what we want to develop in our community is a functional community again.
Because no parent wants their child to be dependent on somebody else.
Absolutely.
No parent wants that. And honestly, in my heart, I know that no child wants to be dependent on a parent or a grandparent or somebody else to take care of them. You know, even women now, we don't look at that generation that the mother stayed at home and the father worked. We don't even want to entertain that anymore. Black women, we want to get out there. We want to work. We want to get our own. And what we did, we got a little bit twisted that now that I got my own and I can get my own, I don't need you, Brian. I can make it for myself. I don't need a man. I can do it myself. You know, it's just not, that's not healthy. And that is not the way God intended it. And I just believe that. I know a lot of us are bitter with men because of some things that have been thrown our way in relationships. I get it. I've been there. But we got to get to a point in this life where we're going to say, listen, I'm willing to go half with you if you're willing to meet me halfway. People say there's no such thing as 50-50. Well, no, it may not be. Somebody's going to give 60-70. Somebody else may give 30-40. But I can promise you this, you'll come a lot better off by coming together and meeting each other at least how much? Half?
You know, the whole concept, united we stand.
Divided we fall.
It's still true. It is still true, and it's true in our community. Come together, then we cannot, together as a people, we're not going to make it. So I'm looking at the whole. So it's always about the whole. It's not about a few of us that maybe, consider ourselves doing well. You're always going to have a few that's doing well, but it's about making sure that our people as a whole can have an opportunity to flourish, and our children have an opportunity, and our grandchildren have an opportunity to flourish.
Yes.
We're already in a recession. Economically, I think we're headed to some even darker times. So we've got to be careful about what we're doing as it relates to, how we move next and where we go next. Yeah.
I'm just trying to take this out.
Oh, you're fine, sweetie. We can just go ahead and finish up. Okay, everybody, we're going to get ready to finish up. But like I said, this was impromptu, so we will be coming at you guys next week with a full show. We will be discussing in detail. I will be discussing the first chapter of my book, and we'll talk about it. We want questions. The first chapter of the book is rebuilding the ruins of a fallen people.
Yes.
And I'm going to talk about, we'll discuss this openly, and I need you all to respond and kind of ask some questions. But we'll discuss some of the things that caused the fall of our people and how to rebuild the ruins of our people. How do we get back to a place to where we are people that are functional, and where we are people that respect each other, love each other, and really help build each other up.
And this book is on Amazon.
Yes.
It is on Amazon.
Yes.
So those of you that would like to purchase a copy, it is on Amazon. Or if you would like for us to send you, Brian, to send you an autographed copy, you're more than welcome to inbox me, and he will give you a special autograph and a message, and we will be glad to mail it to you.
And you can also go to B as in Bravo, D as in Delta, W as in Whiskey, Enterprises, LLC.com. That is our website. And you can go there. You can leave us a message. The book is also on our website, BDW Enterprises LLC. We are also producing our own shirts. So you will see me and Janice in our shirts. They are awesome, guys. I've let several of the family members look at them, but they've got wisdom phrases on it for our people, and they're designed around our community.
Yes.
So I'll be giving you the website store address next week as well. So doing some exciting things. All of the proceeds goes toward building the community, putting back into our children, me getting out there, talking to schools, fellowshipping with schools, teaching our children. So we're trying to build something that's going to be a positive influence and counteract some of the negativity that's going on right now in our community. So we want positive vibes, positive vibes, positive vibes.
Yes. Well, thank you all for joining us. And again, I hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving and a happy Thanksgiving. And we'll see you next week. But until then, have a wonderful week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.